Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. Welcome back today to another live stream. It is match day. Everton taking on Arsenal tonight at the Emirates. This is your latest Everton news live. We're going to be talking about all of the latest news regarding Everton Football Club. There's been quite a bit that's come out over the last sort of 24, 48 hours or so, and I thought, you know what, we'll sit down and we'll cover it all today in this live stream. We're going to talk about Max Aarons and why Everton are now in the driving seat according to a very reliable source for the signature of the young Norwich right back. We're going to be talking about Branthwaite and his loan at Blackburn Rovers. We're going to be talking about Carlo Ancelotti, his comments in yesterday's press conference regarding the Super League and the abysmal, whatever that was, the fallen to bits of that competition or imaginary competition, whatever you want to call it. And we're also going to talk about Bramley-Moore docks and providing a little bit of an update on the new stadium. Everton have filed for some planning permission for a really, really interesting project to do with Bramley-Moore docks. So we'll get into that and everything else a little bit later on in the live stream. But we'll start with Max Aarons then, because it is the biggest bit of information. We will get into the Super League and Carlo Ancelotti's comments, and I'll probably go on another rant about why the team should be fined, but they probably won't be fined. But we'll get into all of that a little bit later on in the stream. If you are enjoying it, do leave a like. Obviously, it's match day, so we will have the instant match reaction and the play ratings out later on after tonight's game. But let's get straight in to the latest news. Anyway, this is coming from Fabrizio Romano, who, of course, we all know is a very, very reliable source when it comes to football and transfers. If you were to rank the most reliable journalists on the planet and the most reliable sources on the planet for football transfer information, you'd probably be putting Fabrizio Romano at the top, if not very, very close to the top. Usually everything that he says is pretty spot on, and he's also very honest as well. He doesn't just come out and make up rumours for the sake of making them up and in order to get more clicks or in order to get more views on his stuff. If he's got no information, he'll come out and he'll say, I've got no information. But he has provided us with some very, very exciting news as of this morning. Around about 4 hours ago, Fabrizio Romano said that Everton are leading the race to sign Max Aarons. They are currently in advanced talks and negotiations are progressing for the right back. Everton started their contact in February and hope to reach an agreement soon. So absolutely fantastic news there regarding obviously young right back Max Aarons. Max Aarons has been a name that has been in the mouths of many Evertonians for quite a long time now. Certainly a player that I think we'd all like Everton to go out and sign. Right back is a position that we know we need to strengthen in. Look, Seamus Coleman's been absolutely fantastic for his entire Everton career, and he's been fantastic recently as well, to be fair to Seamus. Last 3 games he's stepped in and he's made a real impact, and I hope that tonight against Arsenal he can step in and he can make a real impact as well. But we all know in terms of the longevity of the football club, Seamus Coleman isn't likely to play more than 20-25 games next season, because ultimately, he's getting to that age. He's had injuries in his career. He doesn't, what you get from Seamus is when he's on the pitch, he always gives 110%, and more often than not, you get a really good performance out of Seamus Coleman. Had a massive involvement against Tottenham, brilliant ball in for Gylfi Sigurdsson's second goal, but you just don't get that consistency with him because of injuries, because of his age, because of fitness reasons. You don't get 38 games a season out of him. You might get a run of 5 or 10 games here and there, but more often than not, Seamus Coleman spending a lot of that time out. And look, Everton haven't got an alternative. We brought in Jibril Sidibe on loan last season. That didn't work. He wasn't good enough. It's clear the club don't see John Joe Kenny as a fitting replacement for Seamus Coleman. And at the moment, when Seamus isn't available, when Seamus isn't fit to play, we're sort of shoehorning other players into that position, whether it be Mason Holgate, who's done very well there at times this season, but it's still quite clear that he's not a right back. He's also had some nightmare games there. Ben Godfrey's played there, and again, has done quite well at times, but let's be honest, he isn't a right back and his future is at centre half. Alex Iwobi's even played there at times, or as a right wing back if you like, and it's clear that isn't his natural position either. So we've all sort of identified that in the summer, before you'd even mention players' names, before you mention who you want Everton to sign, if you look at just positions in which Everton need to strengthen, in that right-hand side is an absolute necessity, and specifically right back. So Max Aarons was a name that was floated about, obviously, after the end of last season, played in the Premier League last season, and, had a decent season for Norwich, played consistently there as well, doesn't pick up many injuries. Look, Max Aarons is a fantastic young player. I think he's around 21, 22 years of age. Best friends with Ben Godfrey as well. Obviously, Ben Godfrey joining from Norwich last summer. And who would have expected Ben Godfrey to have had the impact that he's had on this Everton team? If you would have said to any one of us sitting down, I can see people in the comments already, big thanks. If you are watching live, do get involved in the comments. If you're enjoying the stream, please do hit that like button, share the stream, subscribe to the channel if you're new. But who would have thought that, when Everton signed James Rodriguez in the summer, when Everton signed Alan in the summer, when Everton signed Abdoulaye Doucouré in the summer, who would have thought that, a £20 million centre-back from a relegated Norwich side would come in and let's be honest, be our signing of the season? Because he has. Look, James has been very, very good. Abdoulaye Doucouré is very important to this Everton team. Alan's been very good. But in terms of a necessity and how important Ben Godfrey has been to this Everton team, he has been absolutely vital to this side. His versatility has been needed on a number of occasions. When Luca Dean picked up that injury and he was going to be out for 2 or 3 months, Ben Godfrey stepped in, done an absolutely unbelievable job at left back. When he's been asked to play centre back in a back 3, he's done it fine, no issues. When he's been asked to play centre back in a back 2, he's done it fine, no issues. He's played at right back at times. Obviously, we know he's got the ability to play in the centre of the midfield as well. So Ben Godfrey was a name that we all sort of went, yeah, decent little player, bring him in. And now it's ended up that Ben Godfrey, arguably is our player of the season. He's been absolutely fantastic. I said it in the player ratings to the Tottenham game. I think I said it's getting to the point now where Ben Godfrey has missed the consistency, more often than not. 9 times out of 10, in fact, scratch 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, Ben Godfrey's getting an 8, 9 out of 10 performance. Very rarely he'll get a 7, and sometimes he'll even get a 10, but could anybody really name me a bad game of football Ben Godfrey's had for Everton? Yes, he's had some games where he hasn't looked as good as he has in others, but he hasn't had a bad game of football yet. He's played over, 20-25 times so far this season, and he hasn't made any real, stupid mistakes. He hasn't done anything wrong, and more often than not, he's been absolutely fantastic. Even in the games where Everton have looked poor and Everton have defended badly, you still pick out Ben Godfrey and say, well, yeah, Ben was decent today. It was just everybody else that was poo. So, anyway, we went a little bit of rant about Ben Godfrey then. But yeah, fantastic news about Max Aarons. Look, Everton are desperate for a right back. And if we can bring in a young right back with a lot of potential, a right back as good as Max Aarons is going forward. He's very creative going forward. Defensively, he does a good job as well. Is he the finished article? No, he's not. He's still got a lot of work to be done. And I suppose the best thing about Max Aarons is he's coming in a very similar ways to Ben Godfrey, 21, 22 years old, with all of the talent in the world, all of the potential in the world. And now, hopefully, a lot of time to learn at Everton Football Club going forward, because Max Aarons is, will be Everton's right back for the next 5, maybe even 10 years. He'll be the next Seamus Coleman in the way of which, Everton will be bringing in Max Aarons. I dare say making an investment in him, because he's probably going to cost upwards of £25-30 million. Norwich obviously promoted to the Premier League now, so they're not going to let Max Aarons go for cheap money, because ultimately the way they say it, if they don't get the money that they want, then he'll be playing in the Premier League with them next season. So it's going to be a healthy investment for the club, and ultimately that investment is for Max Aarons to come in, progress his career, constantly improve, get better, and become one of the best right backs in world football. And I think he's got the potential to do that. I don't want to jump the gun too quickly, but I genuinely think he's got the potential to do that. He looks like a fantastic top young player. He is best mates with Ben Godfrey as well. That's why I spoke about Ben Godfrey for so long. It's not just the fact that they used to play together. They don't make it quiet in the fact that they're very, very close. They were at Norwich. They still keep contacting each other over social media all the time, going away with England under 21s as well with each other. So there's already that built relationship there. There's already that sort of partnership there, that when Max Aarons comes into Everton, he's got somebody in the training ground to speak to. He's got somebody in the training ground who can introduce him to everybody else. He already knows, obviously, the likes of Tom Davies through the England setup. I'm sure he probably knows the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin as well. So I think, in terms of Max Aarons, I know a lot of Evertonians who've said they feel in themselves that this one's a done deal and this one will go through. I'm never that confident with Everton. I'm really not. Until I see Max Aarons at USM Finch Farm holding the shirt up, I'm not confident that I'm not that confident to the point where I can say, yeah, it's a done deal. Am I confident Everton will sign him? No, I am. To be honest with you, I am. Because although there might be other clubs interested in him, there might be, and you might get your likes of your I think I read a rumour the other day saying Crystal Palace might be interested in him. There was a lot of rumours in January saying that Manchester United could be interested in him. But the difference with Manchester United is they've got a right back, they've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and if Max Aarons goes to Manchester United, he's not gonna be starting. Let's be honest, then ultimately Max Aarons doesn't want to go to a side where he's going to be the number 2 right back, the number 3 right back. He wants to be going and playing week in, week out. And, I feel like the other clubs that have been rumoured with him, again, obviously he doesn't have that personal connection with like he does with Ben Godfrey at Everton. And Everton, as a club, the project under Carlo Ancelotti, the aspirations of playing Champions League football and winning titles, I feel like it's very, very appealing for a player the age of Max Aarons who's wanting to come and wanting to progress his career. So absolutely fantastic news. That was coming straight from Fabrizio Romano, was to state that Everton are leading the race to sign Max Aarons. They're currently in advanced talks and negotiations are progressing for the right back. Everton started their contact in February and hope to reach an agreement soon. Brilliant news. I just get him in. And you know what's so refreshing about this as well is that it seems like it's Everton doing business before the transfer window's even open. For so many years and for so long, even last summer, and I don't particularly blame the club for this, certainly not last summer, because I think the deals that we had to get done were difficult to get done, but for so many years, for so long, certainly throughout my lifetime supporting Everton have waited until the last 2 weeks of the transfer window, the last week of the transfer window to get any deals done, and you're sort of sitting there for the first 3 or 4 weeks thinking, why couldn't we have brought these players in now, giving them time to settle in, giving them time to get into USM Finch Farm, get a proper pre-season under the belt. Far too many times over the years Everton have brought players in with a week to go before the start of the Premier League season, and I know we done that this year, and Alan James and Abdoulaye Doucouré played against Tottenham on the opening day of the season and played like they'd been playing together for years, but I just I'm really I'm pleased and I'm happy that it seems like Everton are doing their business really, really early on into the summer. It seems like this Max Aarons deal could even go over the line as soon as the transfer window opens, which is exactly what we want. That's exactly what we want. I want Max Aarons to sign on that dotted line as soon as that transfer window opens so we can get into Everton Football Club. And also, not only so he can have a pre-season as a player and he can get used to the club and get used to playing with the lead up to the new season, but also so we can move on to other targets. We don't want to be spending 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks on one transfer target because it takes your concentration away from other areas in the pitch. If it was just right back we needed to improve, then yeah, no rush, take as long as you need to get the Max Aarons deal done. But if we spend 60, 70, 80% of the transfer the time the transfer market's open on Max Aarons, then we're not going to have enough time to go and improve the other areas in the squad that desperately need improving. Yes, right back is probably the biggest area of improvement, but there's other positions, like I said, right winger for me needs improvement. We still need a ball carrying midfielder. We still need an Abdoulaye Doucouré, as in another player that can do that Abdoulaye Doucouré role, that can bring that energy, because we've seen recently when Abdoulaye Doucouré's out injured and when he's not available, we just don't have that energy, we don't have that presence in the midfield. So there's a lot of other areas I think Everton needs to improve on, and if we finish in a European position, we're going to need to improve on going into next season. But the good news is, and the positive news is that it looks like that the Max Aarons deal may be done fairly quickly into the transfer window, and for me that's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And yeah, that's coming straight from Fabrizio Romano, that Everton are leading the race to sign Max Aarons. They're currently in advanced talks. We'll have to see where that one goes. We'll keep you up to date, of course, with all of the information regarding Max Aarons on the channel. As soon as it drops, as soon as it goes live, we'll be going live ourselves, talking about it, having a little conversation, as well as our Twitter. Don't forget to follow our Twitter, by the way, at MightyBluesYT. As soon as it comes through, we're tweeting it out and we're talking about it there. But yeah, that's the latest on Max Aarons. Hopefully we can get that deal over the line, and hopefully he's sort of made his mind up now as to be like, yeah, I want to join Everton, I want to go and play there in the next season. We're going to talk about the European Super League next, because I think it's a little bit of an elephant in the room, isn't it? Let's be honest. We're also going to talk about Carlo Ancelotti's comments regarding the European Super League. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe as well to the channel. Only takes a second. Andy says, let's go. Cam Aarons is a top player. It is right, Andy. I agree, mate. Absolutely, completely. I'd love Max Aarons at Everton. I think he's a very, very, very good player. Not only is he a very, very good player, like I said before, but he's got the potential to be a lot better. It's not like this is Max Aarons, the finished article. And look, I know that Max Aarons is going to cost a lot of money, and I've spoke to some Evertonians who've said, listen, he's a fantastic player, but I just don't know whether he's going to cost too much money. I don't know whether you could get better value for money elsewhere, and I get that. I understand that Max Aarons is going to cost a lot, but ultimately you're not just paying for the player he is today. You're paying for the player that he might be in 4 or 5 years, and Max Adams has got every potential to go on to be one of the best right backs in world football. Now, can you imagine if we've got the best left back in world football on the left hand side and one of the best right backs in world football on the right hand side? It's given me reminiscent feelings. It's given me nostalgia of Leighton Baines and Seamus Coleman in the 2013-14 season, where we had the two best fullbacks in world football, or certainly in European football, and we went on to have our best ever season, I think, under Roberto Martinez. So yeah, like I said, for me, you know, in terms of Max Adams, it's not just what you're paying for now, you're paying for what he could be in 4 or 5 years time. And yes, it's a risk, of course it is, it's a risk with any transfer, but ultimately, you know, I think it's a risk that Everton need to take, and it's a risk that I certainly would be taking. Blue Boys Network's in the comments. Big thanks, Mike. Really appreciate that. He says hit the like, guys. Helps with the YouTube algorithm. Yeah, it does. If you could hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, all of that good stuff. I know, you know, you might think it doesn't really do much, but it does. Mike's right. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. It helps with getting these videos shared and getting them to more eyes and getting more people involved in this community. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, yeah, I come and I do the live streams and I do the videos, etc. And I can't even begin to thank you for, I can't even begin to express how thankful I am for all of the support I get. It's unbelievable, the support on the live streams, the support on the videos, when, you know, people in the street, you know, coming up and saying hello. I can't even begin to express how happy that makes me feel, just knowing that people enjoy the content, just knowing and people enjoy, you know, hearing what I've got to say, and, you know, getting involved in the comments and listening to what I've got to say and my opinions. It honestly means so much. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you everybody. If you've liked, if you've subscribed, if you just watched one of our videos, thank you so much for getting involved. But if we could share them, it just helps get the conversation, grow the conversation, doesn't it? As I'm sure, you know, everybody knows, I love getting in the live comments, love hearing what everybody's got to think, reading it enough, every comment on every stream if I can. So if we can get more people involved, then that's great. Anyway, let's get back into them. Cam says, how are we, Cam? I'm all good, mate. I'm all good, to be honest with you. It's a Friday. It's match day. I'm still not used to saying it's match day on a Friday, to be honest with you. I don't like it. I really don't. I was sitting there today thinking, oh yes, it's Friday night today, little barbecue on the go, get me feet up, maybe have a bevy, and then I remembered Everton are playing and thought, no, that goes out the window, just stress about Everton. But no, it's can't complain. Mark says, thanks for the live streams this week, Cam. Hope you're well, mate. Cheers, Mark. Really appreciate that, mate. Really appreciate the support. I'm all good, to be honest. I'm all good. I hope you're doing well yourself. Yeah, we've done a lot of live streams this week, got a lot of content out there, obviously ranted a lot about the European Super League as well, which is what we're going to do in a moment. Gorgeous off topic, but Everton, but Stade Rennes confirmed today that Adrian Hunu is joining Minnesota. Is right. If you watched the latest Minnesota video that myself and Gorge did, we sat down and we spoke about, I think it's Honu, how you pronounce it, Hunu, I don't know, but we spoke about him and the possibility of him joining Minnesota United and how good of a player he would be and how good of a signing. So that's brilliant news, Gorge is right. Thanks for letting me know. Strawn says, hi Cam, thoughts on Celtic and Rangers being added to the Prem? I'm not gonna lie, I don't like it. I don't. I read an article the other day, and I don't know for how true it was, but it was talking about there being a potential British Super League, if you like, and the topic of that conversation was Celtic and Rangers joining the Premier League and other clubs joining the Premier League. I'm not against it to the point where I think it'd ruin football like the European Super League would be, but I just don't know if I just don't know whether I agree with it, to be honest, or I don't know whether I'd want it. I really don't. But yeah, there you go. That's just my opinion. Mark says, good opportunity tonight with Arsenal players missing. Yeah, absolutely, got to beat them, mate. Got to beat them. They are, you know, they're a team that, you know, okay, they're a decent side, they've got decent players, but that's all they are. They're not a super team, they're not a Super League side, they're not one of the best in Europe, they're just an average, half-decent Premier League team, where 1 week they can turn up and put a great performance in, and the next week they can turn up and put a dreadful performance in. So it's up to Everton now. The onus is on Everton to go out and beat them. The onus is on Everton to go out and show why we deserve to be competing in a European competition next season. And Kate says, thanks for the update. Is right, Kate, thank you very much. Says, I've wanted him to get signed for us for a while, ever since I saw him against us in the Premier Goodison, saw the potential. Great news, Cam, let's get the deal done. Is right, Kate, thank you very much for getting involved. Yeah, completely agree with you. I remember that game at Goodison Park just before Marco Silva was sacked, wasn't it? I think, did they beat us 3-0, did they beat us 2-0, something like that. And yeah, I think ultimately they were very good on that day, and Max Aarons was a part of that squad, and he was very good on that day as well. And I'd love him at Everton. I really, really would, and I think it's brilliant that the likes of Fabrizio Romano, who is a very reliable source, is coming out and talking about Max Aarons and talking about the fact that Everton are leading that race. So completely agree, Kate, completely agree. Anyway, let's get in to talking about the gigantic elephant in the room then, which is the European Super League. Obviously, we spoke on Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday as well, about the European Super League and how it shouldn't happen and how it's, it'll ruin football, and it's just 6 greedy billionaires who are wanting to increase their wealth and not caring about anybody else. And that was the case, and it seemed like not just myself, but the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of other football fans across the world, stood up in their disgust and expressed their disgust. And, all 6 English clubs dropped out of the European Super League quite quickly, to be honest with you. It didn't last very long whatsoever. I think since then you've had Inter Milan drop out. I think AC Milan have dropped out. Atletico have dropped out. To be fair, Juventus might have even dropped out at this point. It might just be Real Madrid and Barcelona left in. I know Barcelona stated yesterday that they're committed to it, but let's be honest, it doesn't really matter, does it? If it's just Real Madrid and Barcelona, no one's asked. So it's pretty much done and dusted. But like I said, it just shows fan power, doesn't it? It just shows fan power. It shows how important we are as fans in football. And ultimately, like I said, I think I said it in yesterday's preview to the Arsenal game, I've got so much respect for the Arsenal fans that stood outside the Emirates and, protested against their own, and I've got so much respect for the Manchester United fans who went down to Carrington, Manchester United training ground, and protested in front of those owners. Even the Liverpool fans that done it. Look, I don't like Liverpool whatsoever. I don't like Liverpool Football Club, but again, the banners outside the stadium, driving past Anfield the other day, it was full, absolutely full of banners. FSG out, don't ruin football, don't take our football, rest in peace Liverpool. Very, very, very good, and respect. Chelsea fans outside Stamford Bridge as well. Chelsea played Brighton on Tuesday night, and before the game had to be delayed because Chelsea fans were outside. I don't know whether it was Tuesday, was it Wednesday? It might have been Wednesday night. Because Chelsea fans were outside of Stamford Bridge protesting. Even Petr Cech come down to try and calm them down. They were having none of that either. They had banners saying, "We want our Stoke away." So massive, massive, massive respect to the Chelsea fans, the United fans, the Liverpool fans, the Arsenal fans, all of those groups of fans that turned up and protested against this monstrosity that was just pure greed by these owners. And yes, obviously Chelsea were the first team, I think, given those protests at Stamford Bridge. I think Roman Abramovich come out and said, we're going to file the paperwork to leave the European Super League. He said it's clear that we've made a mistake, our fans don't want it. Again, I'll talk about that in a second. So whilst Chelsea had filed their filed their paperwork to leave the competition, whatever, Manchester City had officially left it. During the Chelsea game, it was announced on Sky that Manchester City had left it, and then the following day it was announced that Tottenham, Arsenal, Manchester United and Liverpool had all walked away from it as well. Now, I have a couple of issues with this, and I do want to talk about them. Let's get into the latest from the Premier League anyway. This was as of yesterday. Now, I don't know if there's more information coming out left, right and centre on this, but I don't think in regards to punishment there's been any further on what I'm about to say. Sky Sports said the 14 Premier League clubs not involved in the European Super League breakaway still remain resolute in their demands for the big 6 clubs to be punished and their representatives removed from key positions within the Premier League. So fantastic. All 14 Premier League clubs standing up and saying no, they cannot do what they've done, and they certainly cannot get away with it. We saw Steve Parish, Crystal Palace chairman, on I think it was Sky Sports Monday Night Football the other day, saying it's disgusting, it's a coup, that's all it is, it's a coup to try and ruin football, and they should be fined, they should be punished, they should be banned from whatever competition they need to be banned for. Obviously Everton come out and released a very, very strong statement. Farhad Moshiri had come out and spoke about the fact that these clubs need to be punished as well. Various other Premier League clubs, I can't just say it was Everton and Palace, it wasn't, various other Premier League clubs come out and said the same. But the issue I have with this, and I want to get into it, because Firstly, Roman Abramovich. I think Roman Abramovich come out and said it's clear that we've made the mistakes. Our fans didn't want this. It's bad for our fans. No, it's not. That wasn't in his mind whatsoever. In his mind was, oh my God, I'm going to lose a load of customers here because it's very clear that these people don't want it. He could probably see out his window at Stamford Bridge, saw all the protests, saw the Chelsea fans were frustrated, were angry, and he's thinking, I'm going to lose a lot of money here, I'm going to lose a lot of customers, because that's all these billionaire owners look at us fans as customers. And I'm not saying that Everton are any different. I'm not saying that we're not looked at as customers, but it's very clear that Everton Football Club and Farhad Moshiri and Carlo Ancelotti all see Everton as fans. We are fans of the football club. It's very clear by the way Everton speak. It's very clear by the way Everton are. It's very clear by what Farhad Moshiri said, that our football club sees us as fans. We are fans. We are the heart of the football club. Those football club owners don't see their fans as fans. They see them as customers. So that was my first problem, is them coming out. You know, you had Roman Abramovich come out and say, oh yeah, it was a mistake, blah, 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 blah. You had Ed Woodward walk away from his job and say, I never wanted any parts of it. You had John W. Henry sit down in front of a camera like bloody Logan Paul in 2018 or whenever it was, and cry that he didn't mean it and it was all this bollocks. No, it's not. It's bollocks. What you've done is you've tried to spin a massive PR turn and go, actually, you know what? This has bit us on the arse a little bit here. We're going to lose a load of customers. So let's turn a camera on, or let's get a piece of paper out and write a blag-ass statement to make people think, yeah, they just made a mistake. Nonsense. Second issue I have with this is all of these 6 football clubs, and Florentino Perez come out and said this, I don't know if it was last night or the night before, Florentino Perez come out and said that none of these football clubs have actually officially left. They've signed documents. They're still in the European Super League. I think the latest information on that is there was a rumour before us to state that the Super League will be fining those 6 clubs 300 million each for leaving the competition. Now, Florentino Perez says a lot of ridiculous shite. Let's be honest. Florentino Perez chats out of his bottom 9 times out of 10. And he said a lot of stuff in the last 72, however many hours, that you sit there and you go, what are you talking about, mate? What are you smoking? He said that nobody under between the ages of 16 and 24 likes football. 22 years old and I've liked football all my life. He said that football matches need to be shorter because nobody's interested in watching for 90 minutes. What a load of nonsense. But one thing he actually did come out and say, which I thought, you know what you've said there is right. He come out and said, hang on, basically they can't just walk away. They've signed contracts, they've signed law-abiding documents. And I sort of did sit back and go, well, now everybody's sort of seeing this, that these clubs have just made the mistake, walked away, and now it's a nothing now. They all signed 140-odd page documents, signed that contract to confirm they wanted to join the Super League. You can't just turn around then and go, oh no, I don't want to anymore, and everyone go, oh yeah, that's sound. If I turned up here and I had a contract in front of me for, let's say I committed myself to go and, I can't even think, go and build 65 new gyms in the city of Liverpool, and Liverpool City Council put a contract down and it said, you will build 65 new gyms in the city of Liverpool, and then I signed it, and then I woke up the next day and went, no, I don't want to do that, actually, I can't be bothered, and they went, yeah, sound, that's alright. No, they wouldn't. They'd say, well, you signed the contract, so now you're going to get punished for not doing it via what the contract says, or you're going to do it. And I highly, highly, highly doubt that those Super League contracts don't have any form of punishment in them if teams walk away. I really highly doubt that. I highly doubt. Unless those 6 owners have spanned Florentino Perez up the wall and basically said, yeah, we'll never leave. You don't have to worry about us leaving. And he's gone, oh, we don't have to put any punishment in there then because they're not going to leave. And then they've walked. I highly doubt it. So that's another issue I have with it. Firstly, is these owners coming out and blagging that they care now. They don't care. They never did care. They never will care. All they care about is their pocket. And that's ultimately why they've walked away. Because they've looked at the protests, they've looked at the anger, they've looked at the outrage, and they've gone, oh my God, we're going to lose money on this. So they've walked away. Secondly, I don't just believe that they can throw out a statement on Twitter with a few lines and everyone go, yeah, that's sound. You know, that contract now isn't law-abiding because you've put a tweet out. That's not how the world works. That's not how. I don't know anything about the the law system or the criminal system. I don't know anything about that whatsoever. But I'm pretty sure in saying that if you sign a contract on the dotted line, you can't just lash a tweet out and then go, that's it, now contract's void. You're gonna get punished for it. So yeah, I have issues with those two. Thirdly, is that now you're starting to see certain pundits crawling out the backside, and whereas these certain pundits were saying, yeah, it's disgraceful, the clubs are disgraceful, I'm embarrassed, this, that and the other, we're now seeing certain pundits say, oh no, you can't fine these clubs because it's not the players' fault and it's not the fans' fault. And whilst, look, let's be honest, let's be realistic with ourselves, I get that. I understand what Jamie Carragher and Graham Souness are trying to say, and say you can't fine Liverpool, you can't fine Man United, because then you're affecting the players, the manager, the fans, and they had no involvement. And I get that, and that's fair enough. The players and the manager didn't have any involvement in this whatsoever. Most of the players and the managers of those clubs involved didn't even know about it until it was signed. I get that the fans had no involvement. I get that the fans have done nothing wrong. In fact, the fans are innocent in this, the only innocent party in this. But that's not how football works, and that's not how the Football League works. Bury fans and Bury players and the Bury manager didn't have anything to do with what was going on at that football club, but because of poor ownership and ridiculous greed, those football fans don't have a football club to support anymore. Those players don't have a football club to play for. That manager doesn't have a football club to manage. He certainly didn't at that time when Bury went, when that thing was coming out. Bolton fans. Was it Bolton fans' was it Bolton fans' fault that their owner was incompetent and ended up getting himself into a financial issue where he couldn't pay players or he couldn't pay the manager? No, it wasn't Bolton fans' fault. It wasn't the players' fault that they weren't getting paid because their owner was, let's be perfectly honest, an unbelievably bad knobhead. It wasn't Port Vale's fault that their owner couldn't manage them properly. It wasn't Leeds' fault 20 odd years ago that their owner wasn't managing them properly. It wasn't Sheffield Wednesday's fault in that same situation. Now, what's the common denominator with all of those clubs? The fans weren't at fault, the players weren't at fault, the manager wasn't at fault. What's also the common denominator with those situations? Every single one of those clubs was deducted points or fined or kicked out the league. Bolton deducted points, Sheffield Wednesday deducted points, Leeds I think were deducted points before the season even started. Bury lost their club. Was it the players' fault? No. Was it the fans' fault? No. Was it the manager's fault? No. Leeds, Bolton, Wigan, spot on, etc, etc. The list is miles long, says Blue Goon. Was it the fans' fault in any of those situations or the players' fault? No, it wasn't. It was incompetent owners who got themselves into a financial situation and couldn't get themselves out of it. And not the Premier League, the English Football League, the FA, was so quick to say, you've broke the rules, it's cutthroat, but you've broke the rules, you're getting a 15-point deduction, you're getting a 20-point deduction, you're starting the season on minus 15 points. All of those clubs had that treatment. I remember it, the Bolton situation wasn't even that long ago, a few years ago. The Bury situation, a couple of years ago. Bury fans lost their club because of incompetent ownership, and the FA was so quick, and the Football League, or whoever it is that governs this, was so quick to jump on it and just go, well, that's the rule and you broke the rule, so that's what we've got to do. Why is it any different for these 6 clubs? Why is it any different? I get what Jamie Carragher's coming out and saying it's not the players' fault, it's not the fans' fault, but that doesn't matter at the end of the day. The players and the fans will have to suffer because of what the manager's done. The players and the fans and the manager will have to suffer because of what the owner's done, and that's football. They're the rules, and if you break the rules, you get points deducted, you get massive fines, you get relegation, whatever the punishment may be. That is football. That's what happened to all of those clubs I've just mentioned. What's the difference there between those clubs and the ones that are involved now? Bury weren't bringing in millions of pounds to the Premier League. Bolton weren't bringing in billions of pounds to English football. Sheffield Wednesday weren't bringing billions of pounds into to English football. Neither were Wigan. But Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, Manchester City, Arsenal and Tottenham are. So we're not going to see a ban on these clubs. We're probably not going to see points deducted. What we'll probably see is a slap on the wrist and told to not do it again. And so, do you know what? Please don't go and leave us again. We're sorry that we didn't give you enough money. Here's more money. That's probably what you're likely to see. But what should happen, and as much as I understand the point is that it's not the player's fault and it's not the manager's fault, that doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. The football club have broken a rule. And in every other case of that in the past, however many years, those clubs have been punished with point deductions and with relegation and with whatever. It shouldn't be any different for these 6 clubs. It will be different because they're Man United, they're Liverpool, they're Tottenham, they're Arsenal, they're this. You can't punish them, you can't punish us. What have we done? Well, the players haven't done anything wrong, the manager hasn't done anything wrong, that's fine. But neither had the manager or the players in any of those situations I've just talked about then, but they still got punished. They still absolutely got punished. And poor Bury fans haven't even got a club to support anymore. So those 6 clubs should be punished, and they should be punished worse than Bury were, they should be punished worse than Bolton were, they should be punished worse than Leeds were, because those owners of those clubs were just too incompetent and couldn't run their own club. These owners have tried to ruin football. They've tried to run away and steal football and use it for their own gain. So the owners of these 6 clubs should be punished a lot worse than the owners of any of the previous ones I've just mentioned there. And therefore, massive point deduction should be put in place. But it won't happen, because then the Premier League will lose a lot of money on fans. And ultimately, you know, with the Premier League, with that statement there from Sky Sports, is to state that the Premier League is still unsure, with that statement from Sky Sports to state that all 14 Premier League clubs weren't involved in the Super League, adamant that they want punishment for those other 6 clubs. Whilst they can come out and say that, doesn't really matter, does it? Because ultimately, the Premier League is going to have a meeting with those 6 clubs, and the Premier League is going to sit down with all those 6 clubs and say, look, we're not going to deduct your points because you bring that much money into this country. We're not going to give you the unbelievably massive fine because we're worried about losing it again. So what we'll do is we'll just give you a £2 million fine and a slap on the wrist, and we might ban you from the Carabao Cup for a year, or we might ban you from the FA Cup for 6 months or something like that. And that's all that'll happen. Though let's not get ourselves twisted. Let's not get ourselves confused here. If the Premier League is sitting down with the other 14 clubs, they're also sitting down with those 6 clubs. And it's the same way as to why UEFA haven't punished them yet. Because UEFA are worried of how much money that they're going to lose. UEFA ban Arsenal, not Arsenal, because Arsenal are never in it. But if UEFA ban Man United, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea from the Champions League, then they probably do lose an awful lot of money. And that's what I said on the stream I said it on the stream on Wednesday, I think, or Tuesday. For all us as football fans, this European Super League was criminal. It was criminal for us as football fans because it was going to ruin our sport. We as fans care about the grassroots of the sport. We care about the legacy of the sport. We care about our teams and where our teams have come from and who they've been built by. Those big organisations, be it those 6 billionaires, or be it the Premier League, UEFA, FIFA, the FA, they don't care about that. All they care about is money. And that's why UEFA and the Premier League and all of them sorts of organisations stood together. It wasn't because you're going to ruin football for all of us. We're all football fans. I mean, UEFA come out and said, when it was announced on Sunday night, this is spitting in the face of all football lovers. But when Manchester City walked back in, or when Manchester City walked away from it on Wednesday night, UEFA are there with open arms saying, we can't wait to have you back, thanks for coming back. Well, that's a spit in the face of all football lovers as well, because that's saying is these horrible, greedy, full of self-important billionaires can go away, do whatever they want to do, come back, and you won't even bat an eyelid. In fact, you'll thank them and you'll probably give them a bonus for coming back. So it's a nonsense. All of these big organisations, they don't care about football, they don't care about fans, they don't care about the legacy. All they care about is the money. And that's why UEFA, and that's why the Premier League, and that's why the FA was so angry the other day, is because they were angry about how much money they were going to lose, not because of how it's going to affect football. Stewie has donated £5 to the team. Big up, thank you very much, Stewie, really appreciate it. He says, big up Cam for all the hard work he puts into these videos. Thank you very much, mate, honestly. That means a massive amount to me, Stewie. It really, really does. I greatly appreciate it. I really, really do. So thank you so much for that donation. We will get back into the live comments in a moment, by the way. But yeah, that's the latest on that Super League stuff. It's fell to bits. All 6 English clubs have walked away because they were afraid of losing their customers, which is us as fans. But let's be honest, that's how they see them. I feel like a fan because I support Everton. I support a proper football club where my owners treat me like a fan. I feel sorry for those fans of Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, because their owners don't see them as fans. And I don't know how I'd cope if I thought Everton didn't see me as a fan. Do Everton see me as a customer? Obviously they do. I spend money, and I've got the top on now. I spend money in the shop. I've got a season ticket, of course they do. But they treat me like a fan. They might see me as a customer, but they treat me like a fan. Those owners of those clubs treat them like a customer. And yeah, I think Everton see me as a fan anyway. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. Only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Really do appreciate all of the support as always. Let's get in to Carlo Ancelotti's thoughts on the supposed European Super League anyway. He was obviously at this pre-game press conference yesterday ahead of Everton's Premier League fixture against Arsenal later today. He said that I think it was for every supporter of football a strange day. I think he's talking about the Sunday, Monday here. We heard about the Super League in the past few months, but I was sure it wasn't going to happen. What can I say? They were wrong. These 12 clubs were wrong. He also says, he goes on to talking about the team news. He says, the most important part, they wanted to build a competition without sport and merit. This is not acceptable. If you are good, you play football as a professional. If not, you're not a professional. They were wrong. Full stop. Again, absolutely spot on. He was asked about whether he believes the club should be punished, and if so, what punishment should they be given. He said, I'm not the right person to judge and to say if they have to be punished. There are rules that rules that have to be respected, and that's it. It's not my decision. Everyone can do mistakes, but I cannot say if they have to be punished or not. Again, I think Carlo Ancelotti is spot on there, to be honest. I know we can all come out as fans and say they should be punished, but I don't think he was going to come out and say that. And he also goes on to say, I think the way that they proposed the Super League is impossible, but in 2024 there will be a new format of the Champions League, and then we can have a discussion. I also think it's a nonsense as well, the new format of the Champions League, but we'll talk about that, but I think it's a nonsense. He also says, he talked about how the players felt about the European Super League. He said, honestly, we didn't talk a lot about this because there was nothing to say. It was quite clear to us that it was not going to happen. We were focused on the training and the game. The reaction of all of the world was very, very strong. He was asked again about how he felt. He said, my immediate reaction was, they are joking. This is a joke. The way that we are working now is the right way. This talking about Europe, Everton getting into Europe. He said, the way that we are working now is the right way. We improved the team in the first season and improved the knowledge of the players. We have to improve other things to play in the Super League. Oh, sorry, they're joking. They are joking. So he was having a little bit of a laugh there about the Super League. He talked about Everton as well. He said, Everton is a family club, a club where you can feel the love of every supporter. Everton has a history of taking care of maybe more of its supporters. How good does that make you feel when 3 times Champions League winning manager Carlo Ancelotti, one of the most decorated football managers of all time, is coming out and talking so passionately and so importantly about your football club, about our football club. He also says, now the players have a lot of matches to play, too much. This is the reason this season we have unbelievable injuries, because they don't have the possibility to rest. If they cannot play at 100%, they cannot produce their best. He said the sport culture in Europe is different from America, not because we are right, but the people are different. It's true, football now is sport and business, but we have to consider both, not only business. And that for me is such a strong word there, because in a week where a lot of people have been talking about how these 6 billionaires wanted to turn football into basically just one big entertainment laughing stock and just one big entertainment franchise, and there was a lot of talk about those American owners and the way in which sport is played over in America. And I said openly on the channel the other day, I went and watched a baseball game in 2014 in New York, and we must have been there for 2 or 3 hours, and we must have watched about 5 or 10 minutes worth of baseball, because everything else was advertisements or people on the pitch dancing, or and you go into the stadiums and there's restaurants, there's pubs, and there's people sitting in the pubs watching a different game on the telly when the game that they're there for is getting played outside. There's all sorts going on, and you know what? And it's the same with the NFL as well. It's the same with the Super Bowl, isn't it? All of that is just advertisements and and all of that stuff. And you know what? I don't blame the Americans, and I don't particularly think it's a bad thing, because that's the way in which they deal with sport. That's the way in which sport is over there, and they accept that and they like it. And there was hundreds of thousands of people that watch the Super Bowl live, and there's millions that watch it around the world, and there's hundreds of thousands or thousands of people that watch the baseball live as well, and the basketball live. So it's very clear that works in the American market, and that's fine, and I don't have any issue with that. I don't particularly like it as a sport, but I don't have any issue with that, because it works, and those customers are happy. But Carlo Ancelotti is right there. The sport culture in Europe and in America is vastly different, not because we are right. So he's not saying that our culture is better than theirs, or our culture is right and theirs is wrong. It's just different because the people are different. And he said it's true that football is now sport and business, but we have to consider both, not only business. And yeah, like I said, I really, really do think Carlo Ancelotti is absolutely spot on there. He does go on to say that he believes the new European Champions League format will be better. It'll be exciting from the beginning, but I think that 12 club were not happy about it. If they were happy, they could have accepted it. I think this format can be reviewed, but honestly, it is better. I'm not best pleased with the new Champions League format, to be honest with you. I read a tweet the other day, an article that said that there's an element of the new Champions League format which talks about clubs' coefficients, and basically if Manchester United finish 6th in the Premier League, then they still get into the Champions League because they've got one of the biggest coefficients in English football. And if West Ham were to finish 5th, and Manchester United were to finish 6th, West Ham would get Europa League and Man United would get Champions League because of that coefficient, the same rule. So I think that's a nonsense. I think the amount of games that are going to be played is a nonsense. I think Ilkay Gundogan of Manchester City come out and said, hang on, we're all talking about this Super League, but let's have a look at this new Champions League format. It's disgraceful. Us as footballers can't play. And I get the argument of, well, they're getting paid at over 100 grand a week, blah, 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 put up with it and play. I get that, I understand that, but ultimately, I also understand him as a footballer saying this is too much. So I don't think the new Champions League format's good either, to be honest with you. I think that's an absolute nonsense. Maybe that's a topic for another live stream. If you enjoy more of those live streams, by the way, if you've enjoyed the streams this week where we've sat down and we've talked about other footballing issues rather than just specifically Everton, because the Super League didn't really have anything to do with Everton. Carlo's right. He said that it didn't have anything to do with us and we knew it wouldn't go ahead, so we just sort of ignored it really. But if you'd like me to sit down and talk more about the new Champions League format or these things when they happen, even if they haven't got much to do with Everton, then let me know and we'll do it. Anyway, let's get back into the comments then. We'll catch up with some of the comments before we get into talking about I want to talk about Bramley-Moore. I also want to talk about Jared Branthwaite as well before we finish up. But there you go. That was the latest from Carlo Ancelotti. Clearly not happy with the Super League. Clearly not interested in it whatsoever. Believed it was a joke at the start. And also, Everton captain Seamus Coleman had come out and spoken about the European Super League and said that it's good that we've put this nonsense to bed, because that's what it was. It was a nonsense. So there you go. Look, if you're enjoying, please do leave a like, subscribe if you're new as well, share the stream. We'll try and get as many people involved as we can. Let's get back into the live comments then, see what everybody has to say. Gort says, I feel like it's way better to get players in early so they can build chemistry and get a feel for the team when they're in for a full pre-season. I completely agree, mate. Mark says that Romano was pretty reliable. He certainly is. Jason says, would love Max Aarons. Me too, mate. Me too. Mark says, yes, mate, you okay? Blue Boy says, Mike says, all good, mate. Share, like, and repeat, guys. Helps everyone. Cheers, mate. Really do appreciate that. Ian says, Cam, our club is bigger than a Big Six club, and this was proven yet again this week. A fantastic statement that set the ball rolling. Seamus saying how it feels to be part of a special club. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Seamus Coleman's interview was unbelievable, mate. Was absolutely unbelievable. He come out and he basically said, when he read the statement, he just felt proud to play for this football club. He felt proud to be the captain. He felt proud to be, a player of this football club, a supporter of this football club. And, that's our captain. Our captain's come out and said it's a nonsense, and it's good that it's put to bed, and he's proud to be a member of the club. Our manager's coming out and saying Everton is a family club. I love it here. It's brilliant. Our owner's coming out and talking about how much he loves Everton and how much of a nonsense the Super League was. So it's very clear that everybody at Everton is on the same wavelength. Everybody at Everton is within the same mentality and the same thought process, and now we just have to get that to click on the pitch, don't we? Hopefully that starts tonight. Hopefully a big result tonight against Arsenal. Shabba says, no sweat, Cam, you the Leighton Baines of YouTube is right, mate. Thank you very much, really appreciate that. Mikey Zed says, as much as you're a diehard blue, I think people like your honesty and your unbiased opinions at times. Cheers, mate. Look, I am a diehard blue, and I will get the blue tinted glasses on. Certainly, if you've watched any of my instant match reactions, I say a lot of stuff that probably the next day I wake up and I think, I shouldn't have really said that. I don't really agree with that myself, but that's what happens when it's an instant match reaction and it's an instant thought and it's your emotions are high. And that's why I love doing the instant match reactions, because your emotions are always high. You've just come off the back of either a brilliant win or a disappointing defeat or a silly draw, and you're sort of sitting there and you're always, you say things that you might wake up and think, I don't agree with that. I thought he actually played well last night, but I give him a bit of a tough time. And that's why I like to do these streams a couple of days later and let the news settle, and we do the reviews where we let the game settle, so we can come with a little bit more of an honest, sort of unbiased view of things. But I still have me biased opinions, mate. I still think Luka Dean's the best left back in the world, but some people disagree. But thank you very much, Mikey. I really appreciate that, mate. Honestly, really do. Jason says, on punishment, I banned them from spending during the summer. You can't deduct points. It's not the players or staff's fault. Again, that's fair enough, and I do understand that. My issue with that is that, again, like we mentioned before, all of those other previous examples that we spoke about, it wasn't their players' faults either, or their fans' faults, and they still had points deducted in that same situation. What I would certainly be doing if I was UEFA and UEFA had a pair of balls is I'd certainly be banning those clubs from European football for the next 2 or 3 years. There's no reason why. Well, there is a reason as to why they won't ban Liverpool or Manchester United or Tottenham or Chelsea from Europe, because then the Champions League becomes a little bit less appealing to everybody, because there's no Liverpool in it, there's no United in it, there's no Chelsea in it, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, Arsenal and Tottenham don't count in that because they're never in it, certainly not Arsenal. But, again, it's all about the money, and if they're going to lose money, they won't do that. Blue Goon says, the Big Six thing always gives me giggles. Lol, there's more clubs. There's clubs within the 14 who have more titles in Champions Leagues. It's a joke, exactly. Tottenham Hotspur haven't won a league title in my lifetime, I don't think. Big Nozzle says, respect to all the fans of the Greedy Six who voice their opinions, but we must fight this together and keep football in the hands of fans, but they must be punished with a European ban in 5 years. I agree, mate, I agree. Jason says, I don't think Bill Kenwright would be happy if we weren't seen as fans. And that's why I have a lot of respect for Bill Kenwright. And look, a lot of Evertonians, for whatever reason, don't like Bill Kenwright and give him a bit of a difficult time, and I get that. There might have been a period in the club where he could have sold it a little bit earlier than he did, and we could have been more advanced now. But said this the other day when I talked about Farhad Moshiri's statement. I said Farhad Moshiri is exactly the owner that Everton needed. Now, Farhad Moshiri isn't skint. Farhad Moshiri's a billionaire as well. Farhad Moshiri's got an awful lot of money. I think he's even wealthier than Liverpool's owner. But the difference between Farhad Moshiri and those 6 owners was that Farhad Moshiri understands this football club. He understands how much this football club means to us as fans. He understands how much football means to us as fans. And if Bill Kenwright has sat in 15, 20 meetings with 20 billionaires beforehand and gone, they haven't got the best interest of the club at hand, then maybe it was worth the wait for us to find that one man in Farhad Moshiri who has got the club's best interest in his hands. So I agree, Jason. He says Perez is a TWAT. He is. Blue Boy says €300. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, mate, to be honest with you. Big Nozzer says, I don't think we've heard the last of this. I hope I'm wrong, but these owners are ruthless. They don't care. I agree, mate. I agree. Blue Goon says, I give point deductions. I'm not for punishing fans, but then again, clubs go under because of shitty owners and fans pay for it. And let's not forget Isla. Agree, absolutely, mate. B says, hey, mate. Hi, mate. Hope you're doing well, B. Blue Goon also says, sorry, Leeds, Bolton, Wigan, etc. The list is miles long. Always the owners. It's never the fans or staff or managers' fault. Exactly, mate. Exactly. Tank says, this is great news. It certainly is, if you're talking about Max Adams. Patrick says, sorry, I'm late. What's the update on Bramley-Moore? We're going to get into it in a minute, mate. We're going to get into that in a minute. If you could stick around, we will get into it. Big Nose says, remember 1985? They didn't give a toss about the clubs, the fans, or the players. Then they get banned and fined and let them suffer the way we had to. I have no sympathy. We suffered more than anyone. Jason says, look at Bolton and Berry. Spot on. Sam says, Eisel punished us. That wasn't even our fault. Mark says, spot on, mate. Big Nose says, I'm fuming over this. These clubs must be treated like lepers. It's bollocks. They do. They get treated like, ultimately these clubs are, they're seen as the biggest and the best, and everybody should bow down to them, and we can't find them. We've got to thank them. We've got to be grateful that they've come back into the Premier League. We've got to be grateful that they've come back into Europe. Do us a favour and piss off, mate. Do me a favour. Grow a pair of balls. Find these clubs, deduct points, relegate them, ban them from Europe, do whatever you need to do. Because ultimately, these clubs wanted to walk away and not only leave UEFA, not only leave the Premier League, but leave football. They wanted to walk away and steal football. So don't be giving me this, we're grateful they're back in here, and we're grateful they didn't make, we're grateful that they realised they made a mistake and turned it round. Bollocks, mate, absolute bollocks. Get your balls out and find them. Sean says, just dropping the kids off at school is right, Sean. I hope you're well, mate. I hope everything's well. I hope the kids are well. Mark says, I totally agree with you, mate. Is right, Mark. Mike says, same here. Blue Goon says, if that was us, we'll have already been on minus 49 with fans. If that was us, mate, if we were involved in that, we'd be in League 2 by now. We'd have been relegated in League 2, we'd have been banned from Europe for 362 years, and we'd have been fined £42.3 trillion, and that'd be it. And none of the others would have. It'd have just been Everton. Big Nose says, spot on, mate. Robbie says, reports earlier saying UEFA won't be issuing any bans. They'll be back in to finish the season and no ban for next season. It's a joke, mate. It's a joke, but it just shows that UEFA don't care about football. If that's true, it shows that UEFA don't care about football either. They're not interested about football. They're not interested about the best interest of fans. They're just interested in the pockets. Big Nose says, that doesn't surprise me. Little men with microballs, football is dead if they get away with it. Mark says, spot on, Big Nose. They didn't give a toss in 85. Liam also says, yes, Cameron, fed up hearing Laporte and Perez say the Super League is needed. It's only needed by them because they're struggling honouring contracts. Not our fault. They were okay when it was all gone well. Exactly. They need it because Real Madrid are in over £300 million in debt, and Barcelona are in over however many millions of pounds of debt there, and Barcelona are in real trouble. So that's why they need it, because they need the money. We don't need it. I don't need the Super League. I'm not interested. If it went ahead, I wouldn't be watching it. If Everton were involved, I wouldn't be watching it, because I completely disagree with it. So we don't need the Super League. I don't need the Super League. You don't need the Super League. They need it for the money. Well, instead of paying Lionel Messi 1,700 million grand a week or whatever you're paying him, how about you look at him and go, do you know what, Lionel, we're in a bit of a difficult situation here, so we can only pay you this, instead of trying to ruin football so you can pay your big money players. Anyway, let's get into a little bit more of the latest Everton news. If you're enjoying, please do leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, share this stream, try and get as many people involved as we possibly can. We're going to talk about Bramley-Moore in a second, but firstly I want to talk about Jarrad Branthwaite. Jarrad Branthwaite, of course, currently out on loan at Blackburn Rovers. It was released yesterday that Blackburn Rovers manager Tony Mowbray has said that Jarrad Branthwaite is not expected to play again this season after suffering ankle ligament damage in training. Jarrad will return to Everton to begin his rehab, and his loan move at Blackburn is likely to end. So there you go. Unfortunate for Jarrad Branthwaite, picked up what seems like quite a nasty injury, ankle ligament damage in training again. Bloody hell, how many players associated with Everton are picking up injuries in training these days? It's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. But yeah, obviously, first and foremost, a very speedy recovery to Jarrad Branthwaite. He's had I think it's fair to say he's had an up and down season so far at Blackburn. I think he's a really good player. I like Jarrad Branthwaite. I think he's got a massive future ahead of him. I think he's got a big potential ahead of him. Has it worked out as well as he would have liked to at Blackburn? Who knows? Only you'd be able to answer that. Like I said, there has been some games where Blackburn fans are full of praise, and there's been others where they're not so much full of praise. But ultimately, look, the important thing for Jarrad now is for him to get back to Finch Farm, start his rehabilitation, get himself back to fitness, and then go again next season. Now, whether the club decide to keep him on next season as backup, we don't know. Look, the centre-back situation is something that's been thrown in the air an awful lot recently. Will we sign Koulibaly? Won't we sign Koulibaly? Do we need another centre-back? Don't we need another centre-back? But yeah, like I said, again, we don't know what's going on with that one. But in terms of for Jarrad Branthwaite, awful injury, of course, but hopefully he can get in. He's still only young, by the way. He's still got his whole career ahead of him, and I think he's got a fantastic career ahead of him. I remember when he slotted in the remaining 9 games of last season, and he was absolutely exceptional. He was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. He was important to our team. He didn't just slot in and do a job. He was absolutely fantastic. So hopefully he has a speedy recovery. Wishing him a very speedy recovery, and he's in the best hands ultimately at USM Finch Farm to get himself back to fitness. Whatever the club decide to do next season with Jarrad Branthwaite is obviously still yet to be seen. Maybe he'll go back out on loan and have another season on loan before he's integrated into the first team, or maybe Carlo Ancelotti will say, right, you're going to be integrated into the first team even regardless of your loan ending early. So disappointing news, of course. Jarrad Branthwaite has suffered a ankle ligament damage injury in training and is likely to return to Everton to begin his rehab. What we do know is that he's not expected to play again this season, which is disappointing, certainly at such a young age as well, but ultimately I think he'll bounce back a better player, and hopefully he just has a speedy recovery now. So that's the latest on Jarrad Branthwaite. Let's get straight into Bramley-Moore docs then. There has been an update regarding Bramley-Moore docs, and that is that Everton are awaiting approval from Liverpool City Council for their outline plans to redevelop the hydraulic tower at Bramley-Moore Dock. Everton have proposed an exhibition or cultural centre, as well as a cafe celebrating the history of the club, as well as the Liverpool docks. The plans would see a 138-year-old Grade 2 listed tower become part of the stadium's fan plaza and house an exhibition and cultural centre celebrating Everton's rich history, as well as that of the city's docklands. A cafe area is also proposed to be part of the renovation. This is the full statement from Everton. The listed building consent application seeks permission for works to make the building weather-tight and structurally sound, including proposed new openings to allow for a functional layout for the intended use of the building. Everton's application, which proposes extensive repairs to the long-standing vacant building, is to prevent further degradation, states the restoration of the tower will be both sympathetic to its past but sustainable for its future, and adhere to the heritage principles governing development of the Docklands area. Potentially working in collaboration with fans, partners and key stakeholders, the club would lead the project to deliver an attraction that will allow the story of Everton's illustrious history and that of the Docklands to be told on the site of the club's new 52,888 capacity home. The council's planning committee would approve the application for the new stadium stadium on the site and to change the use of the hydraulic tower, but listed buildings consent is required for all works of alteration to a building of special architectural or historical interest. Bear with me, it's a long statement, but it is nearly over. The hydraulic tower, built in 1883, was originally used to power dock infrastructure and was part of a high-level railway system which connected to and served the docks, but has long since fallen into despair. The tower's engine house has previously been demolished and the chimney reduced in height, with all the original equipment having been removed from the building. Liverpool City Council's planning committee unanimously granted Everton's planning permission to build a new stadium on the site of Bramley-Moore docks in February, and last month the government confirmed their decision not to calling the club's proposals. The club expect a decision from Liverpool City Council on its listed building consent application in the coming months, and is separate to any enabling work activity that may take place on site in relation to the stadium. So basically what Everton are doing there is they are reassuring us that this is a separate application to the stadium. This is actually an application for Everton to do works on the hydraulic tower at Bramley-Moore docks in order to turn it into a building that is sustainable and that also tells the history of the club and the Docklands as well. And it's not to do with the actual building of the stadium. So that last sentence was practically saying the stadium can go ahead and get worked on and the spade in the ground and start to get built without the planning permission even being made or even being granted for the hydraulic tower. That's a separate entity, it's a separate project. It's just something that Everton also want to do in regards to the area, and I think it's brilliant. Look, I think it's absolutely brilliant. Everton have very clearly have looked at and addressed them, thought deeply about every single part of that area that is Bramley-Moore dock. They've not just thought, right, we're going to lump a stadium here and then everything around it, we don't really mind about that, we'll throw some shops up and that's it. They've actually thought of every single square foot of what's in every single square foot at Bramley-Moore dock and how they can improve it and how they can personalise it to Everton as a football club and how they can make it sustainable for telling the story of the football club and the Docklands as well. So brilliant news. Obviously it is an update, a fantastic update, and an update that I think we can all be proud of, that Everton are looking to regenerate the area again. Like we said, it was never just going to be a stadium built. It was never just going to be, we're going to lump a big brand spanking new stadium in the in a space of a not used, or a derelict Dockland that isn't used anymore. It's all about regenerating the whole area and everything that is within that area, and the hydraulic tower is in that area, but it's also fantastic news that it's a separate entity to actually the Bramley-Moore sort of stadium project, and that the Bramley-Moore stadium project can actually go ahead before we get the Liverpool City Council's thoughts on the hydraulic tower. But I don't think there'll be an issue anyway, to be honest with you, and I don't think it'll take very long. I think as soon as the council hear that Everton want to regenerate the tower as well and turn it into a building that's going to be used and a building that's going to be sustainable and it's going to attract more eyes and more attention to it, I think the council will bounce at that. It'll jump at that, to be honest, exactly like they did with the stadium in itself. Big Nod says best wishes to Jared. He also says great show again. You take care, Cam, and let's hope we get the 3 points tonight. Come on, you bruises. Right, thank you very much, Big Nod. Really appreciate that. Kieran says score predictions for tonight, Cam. What's happening, Kieran? I'm going with a 2-1 tight win, but I think Everton win. I hope Everton win, and I'm going with a 2-1. Anyway, let's get into the rest of the comments then before we do finish up. Mark says, if they get away with this, what's the next in rules? If so, sod financial fair play next season if we have the money. Well, that's it. If UEFA aren't going to ban 6 Premier League or 12 Premier League clubs effectively, well, 10 because 2 of them are still in it. If UEFA aren't going to ban 10 Premier League clubs who very literally wanted to walk away, never play in a UEFA competition again, put the 2 fingers up and go and steal footy and do their own league somewhere else, then who are they going to ban? Are they going to ban Everton for spending an extra 100 million in the summer? Probably, because it's Everton and we don't bring in as much revenue as those clubs do. But realistically, if Everton go out and flaunt the financial fair play rule and spend a load of money in the summer and then get a fine or get a ban or get a deduction, then we can sit there and go, well, hang on, no, those clubs didn't get a ban, those clubs didn't get a fine or a deduction, what's going on there? They'd still probably do it to us anyway, because they'll probably come out and admit, yeah, they bring in a lot of money, you don't, so who cares? They're not subtle, UEFA. They've tried over the last 48, 74 hours to make it subtle, and there was one point where even I, and I'm sure a lot of other people, thought, you know what, maybe these organisations do care about football, maybe they do care about the fans. And then when all of these clubs come running back and UEFA opened them back with open arms, I thought, yeah, they don't care about football, they don't care about the fans, they only care about what's in their pocket. Jason says, it's the new Champions League format. If Liverpool finishes 8th and we finish 4th, Liverpool gets Champions League. I don't know if we finish 4th, mate. I think there's still 4 places open for Champions League. So I think if we finish 4th, we'd still get Champions League as well. But I think if we finish 5th and Liverpool finish... I don't know what Liverpool's coefficient is, by the way. But if we finish 5th and United finish 6th, we'd get Europa League and they'd get Champions League. I think the top 4 places are still Champions League places regardless. But don't quote me on that. But I am pretty sure. Liam says, at the end of the day, we now know as a collective we have the power to make change, which isn't a bad thing. It's a brilliant thing, mate. It's an absolutely brilliant thing. Wayne says they should have the points from the rest of the season deducted, so about 18 to 21 for some of them. Forget the fans, players and managers because they didn't worry about them. Spot on, mate. He also says, like, when clubs go into administration, they get a 15-point deduction. There you go. And who's at fault for administration? It's not the players. It's not the fans. It's not the manager. It's the owners. Blue Goon says that is a nonsense. I think that'll get swerved. Big Nozzer says spot on, Liam. We must have fans. We the fans have the power to stop this, and we must. Exactly, mate. Exactly. Luke says I'm in a business lesson at the moment, but I've liked and have to go. Cheers, Luke. Really appreciate that one. Keane says, big game tonight. Certainly is, Key. Certainly is, mate. Big game. Important for us to go out and get the 3 points, hopefully. Jason says, not only an Everton fan, but I love domestic football as a whole. We have this special pyramid, and it would have been destroyed. It would have been destroyed. And that's why it's brilliant that it's being stopped. But now it's time to go and find those. Now it's time to go and punish those clubs that tried to destroy it. Joshua says, Bill Kenwright could have sold earlier and we could have been in the top 6, and he found Machedi, and Machedi agrees Super League sucks. Yeah, exactly. You know, if Bill Kenwright would have sold to the wrong owner, Everton could have been one of those 6 clubs, and we could all be sitting here now disgusted with our football club. So, you know, you have to think about that as well. Mr. Michael RAF says, off topic, really liking the studio/green screen. Look, Cam, nice. Is right, mate. Thank you very much. It is a green screen, by the way. I haven't just got a Belter studio behind me. Not yet. Hopefully at some point in the future. It is a green screen, but thank you very much. Glad you like it, Michael. Juan says, hi from Colombia. Hi, mate. Hope you're doing well. Big thanks for joining us. Mark says, spot on about Blue Bill. Is right. Hameg says, for me, the fans of the Super 6 are victims and heroes. They have done more than anyone to stop this. Spot on. You know, they've done a lot, to be fair to them, and I respect those fans that protested. I respect those fans that stood outside stadiums. I respect those fans that, you know, protested and like I said, made it known their feelings. Rose is in the comments. Everton Rose says, yes, Cam, yes, Rose, hope you're doing well. Hope you are doing well. If you don't subscribe to Rose, go over and subscribe to a brilliant Everton channel. Brilliant content as well, so definitely go and check Rose out. Hope you're doing well, Rose. Cheers for getting involved. Joshua says, if you think Cam is awesome, drop a like. Cheers, mate. Hamegs Rodriguez says, Cam is awesome. I even watched Toffee TV because he was on it. Cheers, lad. Cheers. Did do the latest episode of the Ned Cam podcast on Toffee TV on Tuesday. We talked about the Super League. We talked about how disgusting it is, and we just talked about all of that stuff. So if you haven't checked that out, do get involved in it. Where are we then? Lucas says, Godfrey gives me headaches with poor decision making going forward. Yeah, but he's not an attacking player, is he? He's not an attacking player ultimately. So he's, for me, our most reliable and consistent defender. He's not an attacker, so I get that he might frustrate people going forward, but I don't mind that. Hamek says, if you really want to protest the owners, all football fans should boycott the products advertised by the Super 6 sides. Yeah. Joshua says, at least Lacazette and Aubameyang aren't available, and can us fans protest against the new Champions League format? We can, and I'm sure, I'm hoping that fans will. Obviously, it doesn't come into play till 2024, so there's still some way to go, a couple of years, but the new Champions League format's a nonsense. Like I said, if you'd be interested in me sitting down and talking about that, obviously it's got nothing to do with Everton yet. Anyway, it might do in 2024, hopefully. But if you'd be interested in me sitting down and talking about that, then I'll definitely do that, because I've got some opinions on that as well. But anyway, look, we're gonna finish it there. Then Everton Roses up the toffees for later. There's right Rose up the toffees indeed. Big game today. Big game. Obviously, we haven't spoke about it much in this stream because it's been a bit of a news roundup update. But yeah, massive game later on. Gotta go out. Gotta win. If we've got any aspiration of finishing Europe this season, this one is an absolute must-win later on, and I think we can win it. Look, why not? Arsenal aren't a brilliant team whatsoever. On the day, they can be very good, and they've got some very good players, but they're not a brilliant team whatsoever, and they've got a lot of injuries as well. So let's go out and get the 3 points, and let's go out and put a performance in. Anyway, look, we're going to leave it there. Massive thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments, as per usual. Really do appreciate it. If you're watching live, if you could hit that like button, it would mean a great deal to me. If you're watching as a YouTube video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and we'll get involved with as many of them as possible. Leave a like on the video as well if you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Only takes a second. We will be back later on with the instant match reaction and the player ratings, obviously after the Arsenal game. Hopefully it's a positive one, hopefully we're all happy, hopefully we're all cheery, but we will be back either way nevertheless later tonight after the game with the instant match reaction and the player ratings. Massive thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed it, leave a like. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments. Liam says, nice one Cam, 3 points tonight is right, Liam, cheers for that, mate. Yeah, massive game tonight, and hopefully we can go out and get the win. Big thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.